In this video, I will show you how to solve the mirror cube, sometimes called the bump cube or mirror blocks, but it's the same puzzle. So, what it is basically is a 3x3, but since the pieces are different shapes, it becomes a different weird shape, and it's not a cube anymore. And you actually solve it exactly the same way as you solve a 3x3, but you have to do a few things differently. So now I will show you how to solve it. Since we solve it exactly like a 3x3, we have to know which side we solve first. So that side is going to be this thickest side. It's the tallest layer in the entire cube, and that way you can easily recognize if a piece is in that layer. Some people start with this thinnest layer, which is also easy to recognize, but I think it's easier to start with the thickest layer. So you're going to have to be able to recognize which pieces are in this layer by knowing how long this length is. And if you get used to this puzzle, eventually you'll be able to easily tell if a piece goes in this layer. Even though it looks completely different than the 3x3, the pieces are still pretty much the same. Each side has 9 pieces, and there's a center in the middle, 4 edges around it, and then diagonally from it are 4 corners. When your puzzle is scrambled, the first thing you want to do is find the center that sticks out the farthest from the center, or from the very middle of the puzzle. So, like, if you look at this one, you can see it doesn't stick out that much. And this one is even deeper into the puzzle. But this one sticks out a little more. And so you try and find the one that sticks out the most. And I see that this one is. So this is going to be the center that we use for the thickest layer that we will solve first. So now we're going to solve the cross, which is the first step in the 3x3 and the mirror cube. So we're going to look for edges that belong in this thickest layer. So I see that this one doesn't, but I know that this one does because it has the longest length of all the pieces. So I need to bring it into this top layer, which it already is, but it's flipped wrong. So I need to move it sideways, and then I can bring it up, and I see it matches. But it's not lined up with the right center this way. So I need to turn it until it matches with the right center. Here it doesn't. It almost does, but it doesn't match up. But here it matches. So I know that this piece is now in the right place. Now I need to find another edge. This one almost matches, but it doesn't. So this one doesn't. This one doesn't. Now I'll look in the middle layer. This one almost does, but it doesn't. This one does. So I need to bring it into this top layer. So I bring it up, and I see that it is in the right place because it lines up here and here. But sometimes it won't match up when you place it up there like this. So this one's solved because that's the first edge I did, but this one doesn't match up. So basically what you need to do is first get your edge in the top layer like this, and so it matches up here. But then you need to find where this piece goes. So I rotate it once, doesn't match up, rotate it twice, and now it matches up. So once you've rotated it until it matches up, bring it down over here. Now we'll fix this piece. And so we bring it around twice, and it's matched. And now we bring this back up. So now both pieces are solved. Now we look for the next edge. I can see that this one will work. So never mind. Okay. So I need to place it up here. Here's an empty spot that I can bring it up because I can't bring it up here since there's already a piece there. So I bring this one here. Now I can bring it up there, and now I bring it back. And it just so happens to match up. But if it didn't match up and it was over here, then I would move it once, and I see that it matches up, so I move it sideways, then bring these back once until they match up, and then bring it back up. The last one is right here. This is where it needs to go, so I move it over here, and then I bring it up, and then put them back where they need to go, and now I have the cross. Now that we have solved the cross, we need to place these corners. So, again, we will look for corners that have the longest length of all the pieces in the cube. So, I want to find them in the bottom layer. If I can't, then we'll just have to take some from the top and then put it into the bottom layer and then place it. So I look in the bottom layer. This one doesn't work, but this one does work because this length is the thickest length of all the pieces. So now we need to put it underneath where it needs to go. But we can't really figure out where it needs to go as easily as you can on the 3x3 because I can't really tell the difference between these shapes as easily. So what I need to do is make sure that the longest length isn't going down. If it's going downwards, then what you do, so I'll try and get that. If the longest length is going downwards, then bring this side down, and then move this out of the way, and then bring it back up. So now it's going sideways. Next, we need to figure out how this will go up here. So I see that this way works because the longest length is going up now. So it doesn't go this way because then it's sideways. But if I do this, I see that's the way it needs to go. And I can now see that it doesn't go here because it doesn't match up with this. So it doesn't go there. Now I try this next place. And it almost fits, but it doesn't. So now I try this one. And I see that this place is where it needs to go. So I put it underneath. And then I see it needs to go up this way. So I can't just do that because it brings this one out of the way. So what I need to do is bring this out of the way. Now I can bring this up, and then I bring those back. Now I have placed this corner. So I will look for the next corner. I see that this one does not work, but this one does. And this time I don't need to bring it up this way because then it's sideways. I need to bring it up this way. And I see that it doesn't fit there, so I'll try here, and it works. But this time, since it needs to go this way, that brings this piece out. So I need to bring it out of the way. Now I can bring it up, and then bring these back. The next corner I see is right here, but it's going downwards. The long side is going downwards. So I put it underneath a spot where there is no solved corner. So I couldn't put it here because there's a solved corner. So I put it underneath here, bring this side down, move it twice, and then bring it back up. Now it goes this way, and I can see it goes in this place. So it goes up this way, which means I need to bring these out of the way. Then I can bring this up, and now I bring them back. And now I see that this corner doesn't work, this one doesn't work, this one does work. And so it needs to go up this way, meaning I bring these out of the way, bring this up, and then bring them back. So now I have this entire first layer solved. Now we are going to solve this second layer. So we use the same algorithms as we do on the 3x3, but we have to do something extra because we can't tell the difference between the shapes as easily as we can with the colors. So first what we need to do is look in this top layer for pieces that don't belong in the top layer. So they have to go in this middle layer. And we know they don't belong in this top layer if they don't have this really small length, because that means it would go in this top layer. So we look for pieces that don't have the really skinny length, which is really easy to identify. So I can see that this edge does not have that. So what we need to do is line it up with the center along here. So it doesn't line up here, turn it, and it does line up here. Now we need to tell if it belongs here to the right or here to the left. Now here you can kind of see that it goes to the left. But if you can't really tell, what you can do is turn it like that. And I can see that it doesn't match up here. But when I turn it to the left, it matches up there. So I know that has to go to the left. And because it has to go to the left, I face this in front, and then I perform the algorithm up inverted, up, left, up, front, up inverted, front inverted. And that places that edge. Now I look for another edge. This one doesn't work, this one doesn't work, this one doesn't work, this one does. So it doesn't line up here, it doesn't line up here, it almost does, but it doesn't. It does line up here. So I see if it goes to the right, and it doesn't, which means it goes to the left. So again, we perform the algorithm up inverted, up, left, up, front, up inverted, front inverted. Now I see that this edge belongs in the second layer. It's already lined up, and this one's solved, so it has to go in here to the left. Up inverted, up, left, up, front, up inverted, front inverted. Now this is the last edge, but this time it needs to go to the right, so I perform the algorithm up, inverted, right inverted, up inverted, up, front. And now the second layer is solved. If you don't have any pieces that belong in the second layer and the third layer, but your second layer still isn't solved, that means that all the pieces that belong in the middle layer are in the middle layer. They're just not solved exactly. So here I can see that this one is in the wrong place. So to get it out of to solve this when it's already in the middle layer but it's not solved, then we need to get it into the third layer. And to do that, we take a piece from the third layer, such as this one, and put it into the middle layer. And that will take this one out. So I'm going to put this one in there. It needs to go to the right, so I perform the algorithm up, inverted, up inverted, front, up, front. And now it is right here. So I see it matches up here. Needs to go to the right. I perform the algorithm up, inverted, right inverted, up inverted, front, up, front. And now I see that this one is right here, and it needs to go to the left, up inverted, left inverted, up, left, up, front, up inverted, front inverted. And if you have a piece that's already in the right spot, but it's flipped wrong, so like this would be here and this would be here, so it's already in the right spot but it's flipped, then you do the same thing, just take it out and then place it correctly. Now we need to solve this third and final layer, and there are different ways of solving the last layer, but I'm just going to use the way that I learned how to solve it. So first we get a cross, and what that basically means is we have to orient the edges in the top layer. So here I don't have any of them oriented correctly because they're all facing upwards and they're not flat like the center is. So what I do is I perform the algorithm front, right, up inverted, up inverted, front inverted. And now I have this L case. So I put it up here, and then I perform the algorithm front, up inverted, right inverted, front inverted. And now I have the cross. So next what I do is permute these edges, or put them in the correct place. So first I have to line up two of them. So this one's not lined up, this one's not, this one's not, this one's not. Turn it. This one is, and they actually all are, but if they weren't, like this, so this one's lined up and this one's lined up, but these aren't, then I would face it like this, where one's here and one's in the back, and then perform the algorithm right, up, right inverted, up, right, up, right inverted, up. And if I had two that were across from each other, I would put one here and one here, perform that algorithm, and then these two would be in the correct place. Next, I permute the corners, so I see that this corner is in the right place, but all these aren't. So I put it right here and perform the algorithm up, right, up inverted, left inverted, up, right inverted, up inverted, left. And now I see that these still aren't in the right place, so I do it again. And now they are all in the correct place, but they're not oriented correctly. So I put one up here, and then I do right inverted, down inverted, right inverted, down inverted, right down. Then I turn it, so I have this one up there, right inverted, down inverted, right down, right inverted, down inverted, right down, turn it, and then right inverted, down inverted, right down, right inverted, down inverted, right down, but I need to do it again. So that time I had to do it 4 times, and now I just have to turn this top layer until it is done. Now the puzzle is back into the shape of a cube, but it might not be entirely done yet, because some puzzles, you'll see that on the stickers, they have lines. They have, instead of just regular stickers with nothing else on them. And centers can be rotated, so you could rotate one center 90 degrees clockwise and another one 90 degrees counterclockwise, or you could rotate one 180 degrees either direction, but it doesn't matter because, yeah. So what can happen is when you get it back into the shape of a cube, these lines are rotated wrong and they don't match up with these other lines. So you can see that these lines are going horizontally, but these lines are going vertically. And then here it's the same thing, because these two centers are rotated and it makes the light reflect off them a little weird and it makes it look like it's a different color, sort of. And so it looks a lot better if you fix these afterwards. So if you have this happen at the end, but sometimes you won't have to worry about this, like on certain puzzles like this. But if you have these lines and this happens, here is how you fix it. So sometimes they'll be right next to each other, the two centers that need to be fixed, but sometimes they'll be opposite each other. And so if they're right next to each other, then you put one on the front and one on the top, and then you bring this middle layer up once, and then you do an up turn, then bring the middle layer back and do up inverted. And do that 5 times and it will fix it. So that was once, now that was twice, 3 times, 4 times, and 5 times. And now you see that the lines match up. But if they are opposite each other, like this, so I need to rotate this one and also this one, then you put one on the top and one on the bottom, and then you bring the middle layer up twice, then do up, then bring it back twice, then do up inverted, and do that only 3 times. So that was once, that's twice, and that was 3 times. And now you see those centers are fixed.